Zhao Yuanqing was born to a life of luxury and privilege, but her half-sister and best friend conspired to destroy it all, ruining her reputation and marrying her off to a worthless playboy. After years of abuse, Yuanqing was terminally ill and didn't have much time left. One day, her half-sister, who had stepped on her to climb the social ladder and was on the verge of becoming the emperor's most favored consort, came to see her. "Oh, dear sister, still sick? Looking like this, I'm afraid you don't have much longer, do you?" Yuan King looked at her half-sister's lavish clothes and frowned. "What a rare visitor. To what do I owe the honor, Your Highness?" Zhao Sulan walked over, a smirk on her face as she lifted Yuan King's chin. "Thank you for the promotion, sister. It's all so tragic, isn't it? You, the main family's daughter, were supposed to enter the palace and enjoy a life of wealth and glory. It's such a shame you had that little accident. I, your humble half-sister, had to take your place and become the imperial consort." Yuan King slapped her hand away. Sulan's gloating didn't faze her much anymore. She remembered it all. When the new emperor took the throne and announced the selection for his harem, she had accidentally fallen into a river and been rescued by Shu Suking, the heir of Marquis Qing Yuan. For a noble woman to be held so intimately by a man in public was a stain on her honor. There was no way she could enter the palace after that, so she had no choice but to marry him. But Shu Suqing was a degenerate who continued his flings even after they were married. Now, as she lay dying, he couldn't be bothered to even check on her, leaving her to waste away alone. She could only sigh at her own bad luck. "If there's nothing else, Your Highness, please leave." Looking at the dying Yuan King, Zhao Sulan's smile was anything but kind. "Don't rush me off, sister. I haven't given you my gift yet. I came here especially for you." She waved to a guard who brought forward a bundle. A moment later, a human head, its eyes wide with terror, rolled to the foot of Yuan King's bed. Seeing her grandfather's head, Yuan King's world shattered. Her kind, gentle grandfather who had doted on her, how could he be gone? Watching her sister sob uncontrollably, Zhao Sulan's smile widened. "You're too ill to see the old general off, so I brought his head to you. Aren't you happy? It's all his fault for being so biased. Why should you be the only one to enter the palace? I begged him for so long, but he said I had a poor character and wasn't worthy. Just excuses. It's because I'm not the legitimate daughter, isn't it? But in the end, I was the one who went to the palace. So I just whispered a little something in the emperor's ear. I think the old general is planning a rebellion. And guess what? The emperor praised me for my righteousness and immediately ordered his execution. What a good husband I have." Hearing this, Yuan King finally understood. The real monster was standing right in front of her. She lunged forward, trying to strangle her half-sister, but her frail body had no strength. Sulan easily slapped her away. "Kill me? Sister, you're still so naive. Did you really think falling in the river was an accident? Your best friend, Fu Leli, was afraid you'd be her rival in the palace, so she happily teamed up with me to push you in and stop you from ever getting there." Yuan King's head snapped up. "This was all your design?" Zhao Sulan laughed triumphantly. "It was. I wanted to watch you, the beloved first daughter, fall into hell, along with everyone you love. Now let me give you one last gift." She paused. "The Marquis sends a message. My wife has been unfaithful with another man. She is hereby divorced, and we shall have nothing more to do with each other." The divorce papers fluttered down. Only then did Yuan King realize that her half-sister, even as an imperial consort, was still secretly involved with the Marquis. It was a relationship that could get her killed, but Yuan Qing was powerless to use it against her. Sulan had already ordered the guards to throw her out. She had been so foolish, so naive. Only now did she see her half-sister's true colors. Sulan had always been jealous of her status and harbored a deep-seated malice, plotting to steal her position as a consort, and she had been completely oblivious, leading her entire family to their deaths. The guards dragged her out of the Marquis's estate like a dog, stripping her of all dignity. With her last ounce of strength, she screamed, "What goes around comes around! If I die here today, I will return as a vengeful ghost. I will drink your blood, gnaw your flesh, and haunt you every single day. Your power will fall and my curse will last for eternity." As she finished, before the guards could stop her, she ran headfirst into a stone pillar at the gate. Blood splattered everywhere. The events of her life flashed before her eyes. "Sister, we just got news from the border. Big brother is missing, likely dead." Sister, mother killed herself. If she had just begged me, I wouldn't have been so cruel. Sister, the Emperor has raided the general's manor. He says our family plotted a rebellion and sentenced everyone to death. A burning hatred consumed her. Revenge was the only thought in her mind. You destroyed my family. I will make you all pay. The rage surged, and Zhao Yuanking's eyes flew open. She was drenched in sweat, her eyes bloodshot. Miss? A familiar voice called out beside her. Yuan King turned her head slightly. The person standing there, it was her handmaid, San Nian. But San Nian was dead, wasn't she? A sudden possibility struck her. She shot up and grabbed the maid's hand. San Nian, what year is it? What month? San Nian looked at her strangely but answered dutifully. Miss, it's the 16th year of Emperor Jia King's reign. It's early spring. Yuan King quickly touched her face. It was smooth and youthful. I'm back in the past? This was the year she turned 16. San Nian smiled and helped her out of bed. You look so pale, miss. Did you have a nightmare? Yuan King shook her head with a small smile, thinking to herself, I don't know how this happened, but since heaven has given me a second chance, I will cherish it. I'll protect my family and never let history repeat itself. Just then, another familiar voice piped up. Yuan King, you're awake! The peach blossoms in the back garden of Guoan Temple are in full bloom. Let's go see them together. The newcomer was her closest friend, Fu Leli. Yuan King looked at the girl, and the chaotic memories flooded back. Her best friend, simply afraid of a potential rival in the palace, had conspired with Zhao Sulan to push her into the water, and it was supposed to happen today, in that very peach grove. This time she would not marry that worthless marquise. If they wanted to play games, she would play along and personally cut the strings that had once tied her down. She feigned ignorance and linked arms with Fu Leli, just like she always did. See the peach blossoms? Great! I love peach blossoms. Zhao Yuanqing played along and went with her to the mountain behind the temple. Just as expected, Zhao Sulan was waiting in the shadows, pretending to run into them by chance. Sister, Miss Fu, where are you two headed? Can I come along? Seeing her nemesis again, Yuan Qing's hatred peaked. But she wasn't going to give her the easy way out. She wanted Sulan to feel 100 times the pain she had. Forcing down her rage, she linked arms with her affectionately. Of course, my dear sister. Look at you, your eyes are so beautiful. Can I gouge them out? Yuan King flashed an innocent smile at Zhao Sulan. The words were malicious, but her expression made them seem almost playful. Sulan stared at her, stunned. A strange feeling crept over her. Something's wrong. Why would she say something like that? Yuan King ignored her stiffness and lightly traced a finger along Sulan's neck, then up to her cheek. And this skin is quite nice too, she said with a smile, her tone serious. Sulan felt a sudden creepy chill. She started to tremble. Sister? Yuan King pulled her hand back and grinned. It was just a joke. Can't you take a little teasing? Weren't we going to the mountain? Let's go. She then walked ahead, thinking, Zhao Sulan, this time, I'll play with you nice and slow. Don't worry, I'll make your life a living hell. The other two exchanged a look. Fu Leli whispered to Sulan, Is it just me, or is Yuan King acting weird today? Sulan reassured her. Don't worry. Whatever's going on, the plan can't fail today. They shook off the strange feeling and hurried to catch up. As they neared the river, Yuan King let Fu Leli link arms with her, walking step by step toward the abyss she remembered so well, listening to her friend's sickeningly sweet fake words. Isn't it beautiful here, sister? Once we're in the palace, we won't have this kind of freedom. I should have asked my mother to arrange a marriage for me sooner. I really don't want to go into that gilded cage. Just as Fu Leli was about to push her, Yuan King suddenly spun around, grabbing her friend's hand with a bright smile. You don't want to go to the palace? You want to marry someone else? Fu Leli, still playing her part, nodded. Yes. Then I'll help you, Yuan King said, and with a sudden, forceful shove, she sent Fu Leli flying. Caught completely off guard, Fu Leli plunged into the river. She couldn't swim and began to scream for help, flailing wildly. Yuan King just stood on the bank and watched. The immediate crisis of being forced to marry a playboy was averted, but she couldn't let her guard down yet. Zhao Sulan was stunned by the turn of events. She froze for a second before moving to help, but Yuan King grabbed her hand, her voice icy and full of killing intent. Just then, another splash echoed from nearby. Yuan King glanced over and smiled. Just like in her memory, the Playboy Marquis had arrived to play the hero. Such a clever plan, she thought. Too bad I'm not the same Zhao Yuan King. She let go of Sulan, gave her a little push, and sneered, "This is just the beginning." On the bank, Zhao Sulan panicked, missing the best window to rescue Fu Leli. By the time she could react, it was too late. In the pond, the Playboy Marquis had successfully reached Fu Leli, only to realize he had the wrong person. It wasn't Zhao Yuan King. He tried to slip away, but a drowning person's survival instinct is strong. Fu Leli clung to him desperately. "Save me! Don't leave me!" The Marquis couldn't shake her off. At that moment, a voice called out from a distance. "What's going on over there?" Yuan King caught sight of a group of people approaching and smirked. Right. How could she forget the audience Zhao Sulan had so thoughtfully arranged? Since they were here, she might as well help them finish the show. Sulan, not wanting her plan to fail completely, quickly tried to pin the blame. "Sister, you're so reckless. How could you push her?" She thought she still had a chance. If she could tarnish Yuan King's reputation in another way, she could still stop her from entering the palace. But Yuan King simply swung her arm and slapped Sulan hard across the face. "You love acting so much," she thought. "I'll play along." Sulan looked at her in disbelief. "You hit me?" Yuan King feigned anger and shouted, "You've gone too far, Sulan. Even if you don't like Layli, you shouldn't have done something so wicked. The spring water is freezing. If anything happens to her, I'll never forgive you." By now, the Duchess of Jin had arrived. Seeing the audience she had arranged, Sulan suddenly realized what was happening. Yuan Qing was trying to frame her. She couldn't let this happen or everything would be ruined. She was about to argue, but Yuan King slapped her again. "Did you really think I didn't know anything, dear sister?" The words were a double-edged sword. Sulan, already guilty, forgot how to defend herself. She froze, a sudden panic rising in her chest. Could it be? Does Yuan King know about my plan with Fu Leli? How? Meanwhile, the Marquis had pulled Fu Leli ashore. The Duchess of Jin frowned at the soaking wet pair, then shot a disgusted look at Zhao Sulan. "Did you do this?" Sulan finally snapped out of it, but the Duchess's glare made her freeze again. She frantically grabbed the Duchess's hand. "It wasn't me! It was my sister! Your Grace, you have to believe me!" The Duchess shook her off, her disgust deepening. "Still lying?" Sulan's heart sank. It was over. Yuan Qing had gotten her story out first, and the Duchess had already made up her mind. Anything she said now would just sound like a desperate excuse. The Duchess ordered 2 of her maids to help Fu Leli back to avoid her catching a cold. Then she turned to Shu Suqing. "Lord Shu, you should go change as well." Shu Suqing had a million questions, but he could only leave for now. This was a dispute between young ladies, and the Duchess clearly didn't intend to get involved further. She led her party away. Once everyone was gone, only Zhao Yuan King and Zhao Sulan remained. The pretense of sisterly affection was officially shattered. Sulan dropped the act. "Well played, sister." Yuan King scoffed. "Not as well as your scheming." Sulan felt that something about Yuan King today was incredibly strange. Her plan had failed, her reputation was in tatters, but facing Yuan King now, she felt no anger. Only a strange, rational voice telling her she needed to get away. She flicked her sleeves and stormed off. Watching her enemy flee in disarray, Yuan King felt a surge of satisfaction. It finally sank in that this was real. She was truly back in the past. Yuan King watched Sulan's retreating figure, a glint in her eye. "Zhao Sulan, this is just the beginning. There's a lot more waiting for you." She turned her attention back to the riverbank and checked the stones. Just as she suspected, they had been tampered with. Covered in thick, slippery moss, it would have been easy for someone to slip and fall. The back hills of Goen Temple were popular with visitors. If someone else had been hurt by this trap while she knew about it and did nothing, it would have been her fault. She pulled out a handkerchief, dipped it in the water, and carefully wiped the slimy substance off the stones. Once she was done, she stood up, breathing a sigh of relief. Just as she was about to leave, her eyes met a pair of them across the way. 2 men were standing in a secluded part of the peach grove. She hadn't noticed them before. She had no idea how long they'd been standing there or how much of the drama they'd witnessed. Their identity gave her a headache. The man in the lead was the infamous Zhuang Li, the powerful and temperamental director of the Eastern Depot, the Emperor's secret police. His influence was so vast he could rival the Emperor himself. He was known for his cunning, and making an enemy of him was a death sentence. Not that she had any interest in him, hopefully their paths wouldn't cross again. But since they had, she had to be polite. Yuan King walked over and curtsied. "Greetings, Lord Zhuang." Zhuangli smiled. "Miss Zhao, you're quite interesting." Yuan King was a little surprised. She didn't know how much he'd seen, but she knew it wasn't wise to get involved with someone so unpredictable. She made an excuse to leave. "The peach blossoms here are truly stunning. I won't disturb your enjoyment of them, my lord." Zhuang Li had never met a woman who wasn't either afraid of him or trying to curry favor. He was intrigued. He nodded. "Go on, then." Yuan King left immediately. Zhuang Li watched her go, his eyes lingering on her back. His guard, Chenmo, which meant silence, couldn't contain his curiosity. "My lord, are you interested in Miss Zhao too?" Zhuang Li looked away, in a surprisingly good mood. "A little." Silence was confused. "But she pushed someone into the water and then framed her own sister. Her character is so vile. I don't understand." Zhuang Li, unusually talkative, offered a rare piece of advice. "Give them a taste of their own medicine. Understand?" Silence shook his head. It was so obvious, yet he still didn't get it. Zhuang Li gave him a look, a mixture of pity and exasperation, and muttered, "A brain is a terrible thing to waste." Giving up on his guard's intellect, he changed the subject. "Is she the one Chi wants to select for the palace?" "Yes," Silence replied, mentally grumbling that only his master dared to use the current emperor's real name. He leaned in and whispered, "If Zhao Yuanqing becomes a consort, the Zhao family will likely be won over by the emperor, which would suppress our influence. Should we interfere?" Zhuangli simply said, "No need. Let's go back." Silence followed quietly. Whatever his master said was always the right call. Meanwhile, Fuleli had caught a bad cold after her dunk in the river and was in and out of consciousness. Since Zhao Sulan was involved, their grandmother stepped in and had Zhao Yuanqing look after her. Just as the old lady was about to deal with Sulan burst in. Before she could say a word, the matriarch sternly ordered, "Take the third young miss back to the manor. She has offered to go to the ancestral hall to pray for our ancestors." Sulan knew her grandmother wasn't giving her a chance to argue. In this situation, she could only accept her fate and plan for later. "Yes, grandmother," she said resentfully. After the old lady left, Yuan King ignored Sulan's hateful glare, shut the door, and went back inside. Sulan's maid, Shihong, tried to comfort her. "Miss, once Miss Fu wakes up, the truth will come out." Sulan sneered. "Even if my name is cleared, grandmother would never let this ruin Zhao Yuanqing's reputation. I lose this round no matter what." The Emperor Ming'an was being constrained by Zhuangli's power ever since he took the throne. The selection of new consorts was his chance to build alliances, and the legitimate daughter of the powerful Zhao family was his best choice. Her maid grew worried. "Then what should we do, miss?" Sulan's eyes glinted with malice. "If I don't ruin Zhao Yuanqing, I'll never have a chance to enter the palace. I miscalculated this time, but it's not over till it's over. I will repay today's humiliation 100 times over." An hour later, Fuleli woke up. The first person she saw was Zhao Yuanqing. She immediately exploded. "Zhao Yuanqing, you pushed me!" Yuanqing just smiled and patted her hand. "I did. And not only did I push you, I also arranged a marriage for you. You didn't want to go to the palace, right? Congratulations, you got your wish. The future wife of the Marquis of Qingyuan? That's not too bad for you, is it?" Fuleli's eyes went wide. The trap she had set for Yuan King had sprung on herself. She had been completely outplayed, but instead of feeling guilty, she was furious. "Zhao Yuan King, how could you be so cruel?" Yuan King laughed. "To help my dear friend get her wish, what's a little reputation for cruelty? You two were seen in a compromising position, by everyone. It's a done deal. And Layli, you remember this, the one who pushed you wasn't me. It was Zhao Sulan." The threat was clear, Fuleli understood. A maid came in with medicine. Yuan King stood up, playing the part of the good friend, and said comfortingly, "Layli, you should try to look on the bright side. The Qingyuan Marquisate isn't what it used to be, but it's still a noble house. And Lord Shu is a handsome man. It's a good match." Fuleli was so angry she could have coughed up blood. She choked back a string of curses and forced a smile. "I really have you to thank for this, Yuan King." She knew her path to the palace was cut off, and her marriage to Shu Su King was set in stone. The Fu family was no match for the Zhaos. Making an enemy of them now was a bad move. It was better to keep up appearances with Yuan King. Who knew it might be useful later? Yuan Qing knew her toxic friend would make the smart choice. Seeing her furious but helpless was immensely satisfying. She told her to rest well and left. Lying in bed, Fu Leli was so enraged her eyes turned red, but she couldn't say a word. She was trapped. Now on her way back to the Zhao family estate, she looked at the familiar surroundings, and flashes of her past life filled her mind, leaving her with a mix of emotions. Before she could get too lost in sad memories, a familiar voice cut through her thoughts. I thought you went to the temple for some peace and quiet. How did you end up causing so much trouble? Seeing her mother, alive and well, Yuan King couldn't hold back her tears. Mother! She cried. Her mother hugged her, wiping away her tears. What is it? Who bullied you? Tell me and I'll make them pay. Don't cry, I'm here now. Feeling her mother's love again, Yuan King cried even harder, clinging to her tightly. Mrs. Zhao was puzzled. Her daughter was never a crier. What could have happened to make her so upset? She looked at her daughter's personal maid. What else happened at the temple? What upset her so much? The maid, Sanyan, could only recount the story of how Zhao Sulan and Fu Leli had schemed against her. When she heard it, Mrs. Zhao slammed her hand on the table. How dare they? Seeing her mother so full of life and vigor made Yuan King happy. She wiped her eyes and took her mother's hand. Mother, I'm fine, really. I just got emotional seeing you. I'm not hurt, am I? Mrs. Zhao, thinking about how things turned out, felt a little better. That may be true, but I can't let them get away with this. Zhao Sulan is right under our noses. We can deal with her any time. But the Fu family? She asked. Should I interfere with Fu Leli's marriage to the Marquise? No one knew better than Yuan King what a terrible person the Marquis was. Fu Leli was in for a miserable life. She quickly shook her head, giving her mother a hint. A forced marriage where neither party is happy is never a good match. Mrs. Zhao understood instantly, a hint of schadenfreude in her voice. Then I'll go add some fuel to the fire and make sure this marriage happens. Although she had managed the river incident, Yuan King couldn't relax. Now she would be the one expected to enter the palace. While her past life's misery was orchestrated by Zhao Sulan, the one who gave the orders to destroy her family was Emperor Ming-an. She would never marry such an unjust, foolish ruler. She couldn't go to the selection, but she couldn't let Sulan go either. Right now, there was only one person powerful enough to change everything and stand up to the Emperor Zhuangli. She had hoped to stay away from him, but now he was her only hope to sever the Zhao family's path to the palace. So the next day, she took a carriage bearing the Zhao family crest and went straight to the headquarters of the Eastern Depot. She personally carried a box of pastries and handed them to the guard at the gate. I made these myself. Could you please give them to Lord Zhuang for me? The guard looked utterly bewildered, as if he were dreaming. The precious daughter of Grand Tutor Zhao was bringing pastries for the director? He stammered. Miss Zhao, please wait a moment, I'll go inform him. While she waited, Yuan King didn't stay idle. She struck up a conversation with the other guards, asking about Zhuang Li's preferences. The guards looked uncomfortable. Miss Zhao, please don't make things difficult for us. How would we know anything about Lord Zhuang's business? One of them muttered under his breath. Even if we did, we wouldn't dare say. Yuan King had expected as much. She feigned shyness. You're right, I was being too forward. I met Lord Zhuang once at the Guowen Temple a few days ago. And, well, don't laugh, but I've always had a weakness for handsome men. After seeing Lord Zhuang, she trailed off meaningfully. Seeing her blush, the guards instantly understood what she was implying. Their eyes widened in disbelief. Miss Zhao, you've fallen for our Lord Zhuang? Yuan King nodded shyly. News of the scene at the gate quickly reached Zhuang Li's ears. For a rare moment, he was speechless. He had to confirm it again. Zhao Yuan King said she's infatuated with me? After getting a positive answer, a slow smile spread across his face. Interesting. All right, bring her in. I want to see this infatuation for myself. Soon, Zhao Yuan King was escorted into the Eastern Depot. At the same time, the news that the legitimate daughter of the Zhao family had fallen in love at first sight with the eunuch Zhuang Li spread through the capital like wildfire. Seeing Zhuang Li again, Yuan King still felt unsure. It was a risky move, but with the consort selection looming, The only person who could counter Emperor Mingan was this unpredictable man. Besides, if she entered the palace, she would inevitably be on the opposite side of Zhuangli anyway. It was better to take a gamble now. After all, the enemy of her enemy was her friend. She had a fighting chance. Zhuangli got straight to the point. I hear you fell in love with me at first sight. Yuan King was composed. Yes, I am completely smitten with you, Lord Zhuang. I would gladly remain unmarried for the rest of my life for you. Zhuangli stared at her, as if trying to see right through her. Giving up the position of imperial consort to remain single for me? You are truly considerate. He emphasized the last word. They were both smart enough to understand the hidden meaning. Yuan King replied sincerely, My family only wishes for me to find someone I truly connect with, and so do I. Wealth and glory are fleeting. They are not what I seek. Zhuangli chuckled and leaned back in his chair. And what does that have to do with me? Yuan King paused, realizing Zhuangli wasn't eager to form an alliance. She then smiled. Of course it has nothing to do with you, my lord. My actions today were improper, and I won't repeat them. I will keep my feelings for you locked away in my heart. Zhuangli glanced at her but said nothing more, simply ordering a guard to show her out. Yuan King left with the guard. She had considered all the possibilities before coming and was prepared to make an enemy of one side or the other. As soon as she was gone, silence emerged from the shadows. My lord, when did Miss Zhao fall for you? She's quite beautiful, you know. It wouldn't be a bad thing if you accepted her. A noble lady falling for a eunuch. If Chizeli is as dumb as you and can't figure out what she's doing, this will be even more fun. Zhuangli felt another headache coming on because of his guard's denseness. But with Chizeli's suspicious nature, even if he doesn't get it, he probably wouldn't dare keep someone connected to me by his side. Zhao Yuanking's move was quite clever. Meanwhile, Zhao Yuanking was already back home. San Nian couldn't understand why her mistress would confess her feelings to a eunuch. The whole capital would be mocking her. Yuan King, in a good mood, decided to explain it to her loyal maid. I just wanted to send a message to the man in the palace that I'm not willing to go. If he forces me, then the Zhao family will have to switch sides and align with Zhuangli. The emperor isn't stupid enough to miss that. After all, who would fall in love at first sight with the eunuch and vow to stay chaste for him? It's not a huge blow to the emperor, but it's incredibly humiliating. His chosen consort turning around and confessing her love to his mortal enemy. And since he's too weak to make an enemy of the Zhao family right now, he's probably fuming. The thought of it just makes me happy. A servant from her father's quarters intercepted her. Second miss, the master wishes to see you in the study. Yuan King wasn't surprised. Most court officials, including her father, hated the eunuch's power. Her getting involved with Zhuangli would surely anger him, but she was confident she could persuade him. She went straight to his study. Besides her father, Zhao Sulan's mother, concubine Wen, was also there. Yuan Qing could tell she was here to stir up trouble. Sure enough, the moment she saw Yuan King, concubine Wen started in. Oh, my dear second miss, have you lost your mind? You're the legitimate daughter. Why are you getting mixed up with a eunuch? Sulan was foolish, but are you going to get yourself sent to the ancestral hall too? Then she turned to Yuan King's father, who was barely containing his anger. My lord, don't be too angry. The second miss is just young and confused. She didn't know any better. Yuan King sneered. My sister was punished by grandmother for her improper conduct. Is concubine Wen suggesting there's something wrong with my conduct? Concubine Wen was speechless. Lord Zhao finally exploded. And you think you've done nothing wrong? Yuan Qing immediately dropped her defiant attitude and stood quietly, ready for a lecture. Seeing her like this, her father found himself at a loss for words. He pointed at her, sputtering, You foolish girl. Concubine Wen quickly fanned the flames. Second miss, look how angry you've made your father. Don't just stand there, apologize to him. Yuan King shot concubine Wen a cold look. What does this have to do with you? Her commanding presence stunned both her father and the concubine. The old Yuan King, though she disliked the concubines and their children, was always polite. This blunt, domineering tone made even her father pause. When he finally spoke, it wasn't a reprimand, but concern. Yuan King, did something happen to upset you? Concubine Wen had been waiting for him to scold Yuan King and defend her, But instead, he was worried about his daughter. Her face twisted with rage. Yuan King thought to herself, if concubine Wen wants to act, I can act too. She softened her tone. I was just feeling anxious about the consort selection and spoke too bluntly. I hope concubine Wen won't take it to heart. Concubine Wen couldn't find fault with her words, but she seethed internally. You brat, I won't let you get away with this. Lord Zhao, oblivious to the undercurrents, sighed and comforted her. It's not over yet. Maybe something will change. Concubine Wen quickly interjected. My lord, what Yuan King did was foolish. But now that the story is out, it will damage her reputation. The emperor, might he change his mind about choosing her? Her words seemed comforting, but they were meant to alarm her father. She was sure this would bring punishment upon the whole family, and he wouldn't stand for that. Zhao Yuan King, you're going down. But once again she was disappointed. That's true, Lord Zhao said. This might be a blessing in disguise. If it keeps her out of the selection, that would be a good thing. Concubine Wen was furious. What? He thinks not entering the palace is a good thing? Not only was there no punishment, he was comforting her. She refused to give up. My lord, everyone in the city is talking about this. People will gossip. Lord Zhao finally turned his gaze on her, but only to scold her. Is this your place to speak? Concubine Wen froze, feeling wronged. The one who did something wrong gets off scot-free, and she's the one getting yelled at? Ignoring the concubine, Lord Zhao continued to soothe Yuan King. It doesn't matter what others say. They wouldn't dare say it to our faces. If anyone tries to bully you, the Zhao family is not to be trifled with. A warmth spread through Yuan King's chest. She smiled. I understand, father. Good, he said with a nod, waving her away. Just be happy. You must be tired from your outing. Go get some rest. Yuan King curtsied, then shot a look at concubine Wen as if to say, all that drama for nothing. You're just a clown. She strolled out leisurely. Concubine Wen was about to explode. Publicly declaring her love for a eunuch, such an outrageous act, and she gets away with it just like that? Thinking of Sulan still kneeling in the ancestral hall, she grew even angrier. Are the rules of this house only for her and her daughter? It was outrageous. Zhao Yuan King, I am not letting you get away with this. In the imperial palace, Emperor Mingan was furious. That Zhao Yuan King! How dare she publicly declare her love for a dead eunuch? She has no respect for me as the emperor. It seems I need to teach this noble lady a lesson. The emperor couldn't stand the humiliation. He ordered the Empress Dowager to summon Zhao Yuan King to the palace the next day. Yuan King had anticipated this. She dressed simply and followed the palace eunuch. On the way, she was stopped by the 10-year-old 10th princess. The princess was the legitimate daughter of the late emperor and had been spoiled rotten, giving her an arrogant and domineering personality. In Yuan King's past life, Emperor Mingan had outwardly pampered the princess to maintain a good reputation, but it was a form of manipulation. Within a year, the princess had made a fatal mistake and met an untimely end. Right now, it was clear the emperor was using her to test Yuan King. Yuan King's mind raced, but her face remained serene. She smiled and curtsied perfectly. Greetings to the 10th princess. May you have peace and good fortune. The princess looked her up and down before asking, You're Zhao Yuan King? When Yuan Qing confirmed, her attitude became even more arrogant. I don't like the look of you. Are you going to slap yourself, or should I do it for you? Yuan King's expression didn't change. May I ask what I have done wrong? She asked calmly. I don't like you. That's your crime, the princess retorted haughtily. Yuan King laughed. If that's the case, then please forgive me, but I cannot accept this punishment. The princess, used to getting her way, flew into a rage. You dare defy my orders? Yuan Qing just kept smiling. I cannot bring harm to the princess. Her calm demeanor only enraged the princess further. Harm me? Ridiculous. You there, hold her down. Since you won't cooperate, I'll have to do it myself. The eunuchs had already been given their instructions. The moment the princess spoke, they rushed toward Yuan King. A smirk touched Yuan King's lips. So the emperor isn't just testing me, he wants to use the princess to teach me a lesson. Afterwards, he can blame it all on her and tarnish her name for being unruly. 2 birds with 1 stone. Too bad for him. As a general's daughter, I've trained in martial arts since I was a child. I'm not falling for such a crude trick. As the eunuchs closed in, Yuan King shot out a hand, grabbed one's wrist, and with a simple twist threw him to the ground. The others met the same fate. In the blink of an eye, a pile of groaning eunuchs lay at her feet. The princess stared wide-eyed in disbelief. How did that happen? Yuan King bowed sincerely. I took the liberty of teaching these unruly servants a lesson on the princess's behalf. I did it for your own good. The princess burst into tears of frustration. You hit my people and you say it's for my own good? You're so good with words. Let's see how you like it when I tear that mouth of yours apart. Having never been so humiliated, the princess lunged at Yuan King. Yuan King calmly sidestepped, and the princess went tumbling headfirst into a flower bed, getting a face full of dirt. Used to people catering to her every whim, she never imagined someone would actually dodge her. The eunuchs on the ground scrambled to their feet and clumsily pulled her out of the flowers. Zhao Yuan King, I'm going to kill you, the princess shrieked. Just you wait, I'll have my brother the emperor punish you. With leaves still stuck in her hair, her tantrum looked more comical than threatening. Yuan King couldn't help but let out a small laugh. This made the princess even angrier. Zhao Yuan King, you dare to laugh? Yuan King quickly composed herself. She knew the emperor wouldn't send a clueless child as his only move. The princess had failed, which meant there had to be a backup plan. Sure enough, a stern voice rang out. Miss Zhao, this is the imperial palace. Hearing the voice, the princess turned and ran into the arms of the newcomer, whining, Nanny, she bullied me. The head nanny looked directly at Yuan King. The princess is of royal blood. As a subject, you have shown no regard for the proper etiquette between ruler and servant. In your eyes, is there only the Zhao family and not the imperial family? Yuan King wasn't fazed. She smiled. Nanny, there's no need to levy such a heavy accusation against me. It is precisely because I understand my duty that I could not allow the princess to be corrupted by servants with ill intentions. As for you, Nanny, as the princess's caretaker, you should be advising her, not indulging her. That is the true betrayal of the imperial family's trust. What an impudent tongue, the nanny shouted. It is not the place of a mere subject to lecture the princess. If any harm were to come to her, how would you answer for it? Yuan King feigned confusion. Didn't the princess fall on her own? Is it a crime for others not to catch her when she falls? If so, you should be questioning her attendance. What does it have to do with me? The princess, now with backup, started shouting again. You deliberately dodged me. If you hadn't moved, I wouldn't have fallen. Yuan King replied calmly. Why would you fall if I didn't move? Are you suggesting you were deliberately trying to run into me? The princess is a noble of the imperial family, and I am but a humble subject. If the emperor and the empress dowager choose to punish me for this, I will have nothing more to say. The nanny sighed inwardly. This Zhao Yuan King was a tough one. If she admitted it, it would mean the princess started the trouble. The emperor, not yet secure in his power, wouldn't dare punish Yuan King without just cause, or he would not only make an enemy of the Zhao family but also anger the other court officials. Yuan King had anticipated every move and acted flawlessly, giving them no opening to bully her. If the emperor really did punish her, she would surely make him pay a heavy price. The emperor's plan to use the princess to hassle Yuan King had failed because she was too smart to be trapped. The nanny had to resort to pulling rank. She figured the authority of the royal family was absolute. The princess says you bullied her, but you deny it. Are you calling the princess a liar? Slandering a princess and showing contempt for the imperial family? Can you bear the weight of that crime, Miss Zhao? Seeing them resort to threats when they had no ground to stand on, Yuan King remained unfazed. Just as she was about to speak, a voice came from behind her. Well, what do we have here? A mere servant daring to hide behind the imperial family's name to make false accusations, Zhuang Li drawled as he slowly walked out. The arrogant princess instantly turned into a meek mouse. The nanny was so terrified she fell to her knees. This servant greets Lord Zhuang. Yuan King was surprised to see him here. Zhuang Li was always a wild card, and she never knew if his presence was a good or a bad thing. She curtsied. Greetings, Lord Zhuang. Zhuang Li, tall and imposing, stood before her with a smirk. Well, if it isn't the young lady from the Zhao family, my admirer. Yuan King lowered her head, her face turning beet red. That's what I said, she grumbled internally. But you don't have to bring it up every time you see me. I'm a young lady. I have a reputation to maintain. Seeing her flushed face, Zhuang Li chuckled. Then his gaze drifted to the nanny. You were the one who said Miss Zhao was slandering the little princess? The nanny didn't know what he was thinking and was too scared to answer, her body trembling. This was classic palace behavior. Bully the weak, fear the strong. Zhuang Li turned back to Yuan King. Miss Zhao is my admirer. What was it you said before? Yes, you said I'm handsome. Such honest words. I'd say there's no one more honest than Miss Zhao. His gaze returned to the nanny. And you say she's a liar, Are you saying I'm not handsome? The nanny felt like dying. What did one thing have to do with the other? But she didn't dare deny it. Faced with this terrifying man, she had no choice but to agree. It was this servant's mistake. Miss Zhao speaks only the truth. Zhuangli nodded. So you're saying the little princess was lying? Slandering a princess? Slandering the imperial family? Tisk, tisk, what a crime. The nanny was speechless. She was damned if she did, damned if she didn't. Yuan King watched the nanny's torment with amusement. No wonder everyone feared Zhuang Li. With just a few words, he could scare someone half to death. Zhuang Li's eyes came back to her. He toyed with a strand of her hair and said lazily, I've lived for over 20 years and only just found myself such a talented and beautiful admirer. If my admirer were to lose so much as a single hair or a fingernail, it would make me lose face, wouldn't it? He turned back to the nanny. All right, this is boring. Go and receive your punishment. The nanny felt like she had just been saved from death. She thanked him profusely, promising never to offend Miss Zhao again, and quickly left with the princess and her entourage. With the others gone, Zhuangli asked Yuan King, You've had training? Yuan Qing knew then that he had likely seen the whole thing. She answered honestly, I've learned a few basic moves. Zhuangli nodded. It's a bit lacking. I'll have silence teach you. Yuan King was confused. Zhuangli explained, The one who was with me in the peach grove. His brain isn't the sharpest, but his martial arts are excellent. Yuan King wondered why the conversation had suddenly turned to him teaching her martial arts. Seeing her confusion, Zhuangli leaned in closer. After all, I've already made my position clear. If you were to get hurt, it would be a real embarrassment for me. I don't have many virtues, but I am very protective of my own. Yuan King's feelings were complicated. When Zhuangli was tormenting her enemies, it was satisfying. But when his attention was on her, it was nerve-wracking. Did admirer fall under the category of his own? She could protect herself just fine, but she knew better than to argue. She bowed slightly. Thank you, my lord. This was the first time since her rebirth that her emotions had shown so clearly on her face. Seeing her so composed, and apparently not eager for his protection, Zhuangli felt a strange desire to push further. There are very few people who interest me. You're one of them. In that case, it's not a good day to see the emperor. Come on, I'll take you home. Yuan King raised an eyebrow. Was he really so bold as to openly defy the imperial family? In her past life, she would have disapproved of such behavior, but now all she could think was, well done. With Zhuangli as her escort, she wouldn't have to worry about the emperor stopping her on the way out. It was a clear win for her. After dropping Yuan King off at the Zhao estate, Zhuangli left. Yuan King was puzzled. What was his game? Meeting at the palace could have been a coincidence, but why escort her home? Shouldn't he just let her play the part of the infatuated girl while he remained aloof and uninvolved? The untouchable Lord Zhuang? His actions today were impossible to read. The man was truly unpredictable. Or maybe, since she wasn't his enemy, she was seeing a different, more human side of him? She couldn't figure it out, so she decided not to dwell on it. As she stepped into the estate, she failed to notice a pair of excited eyes watching from a distance. The esteemed daughter of the Zhao family meeting a man in secret, and he even followed her to the gates. Let's see how you explain this to father. Zhao Sulan, thinking she had caught Yuan King red-handed, immediately started her attack. Sister, you truly live up to your name as a noble lady. First, you publicly declare your love for a eunuch, and now you have some strange man escorting you home. Seeing Sulan, Yuan King's good mood soured. Watch your mouth. Do you want to go back to kneeling in the ancestral hall? Sulan wasn't scared. I'm just stating facts. You're the one who acts so brazenly in public. Is this how a noble lady is supposed to behave? Yuan King laughed. How a noble lady behaves is none of your business. The words hit Sulan where it hurt. Sulan was furious. I may not be the legitimate daughter, but I am still a daughter of the Zhao family. You may not care about your own reputation, but don't drag the rest of us down with you. In love with a eunuch, seen with strange men, people will think this is how the entire Zhao family behaves. Her words were dripping with self-righteousness. Yuan King laughed again, this time with genuine anger. A child of a concubine lecturing the legitimate daughter? Making accusations without knowing the facts? Is this what you learned after more than 10 years of etiquette lessons? Sulan was hit with another painful truth she couldn't change. She scowled, but then a smile returned to her face. I was just concerned for you, sister, and spoke rashly. Surely you're not going to hold it against me. That would be very petty of you for a legitimate daughter. Yuan King raised her hand and slapped Sulan across the face. In her past life, she had been bound by her status as a noble lady, always careful of her actions and reputation. No matter how angry she got, she would have let it slide. But now, having died once already, who cared about being petty? Compared to being alive, reputation meant nothing. Sulan was stunned. What happened to her noble manners? She held her cheek in disbelief. You hit me? Yuan King sneered. You called me petty, so I'll be petty. Zhao Sulan, I used to put up with you for the sake of appearances, but not anymore. You'd better not provoke me. Keep your head down. I'm not in the mood to deal with you right now, but you'd be wise not to show your face around me. Otherwise, I don't mind fulfilling my duties as your elder sister. With that, she turned and left, not caring what Sulan thought. Sulan stared after her, fuming and confused. Has Zhao Yuan King gone mad? Her maid, however, saw things more clearly. Miss. The second miss seems different than before. Maybe we should avoid confronting her directly. Never, Sulan retorted. She had been slapped twice, and Yuan King had faced no consequences. She couldn't let it go. She grabbed her maid's hand and told her to slap her, to make her face red. The maid hesitated, so Sulan grabbed the maid's hand herself and slammed it against her own cheek. She winced in pain, but the thought of getting revenge on Yuan King strengthened her resolve. She ordered the maid to keep hitting the same spot. When Lord Zhao returned home from work, concubine Wen invited him to her courtyard for dinner. After a few bites, he noticed his third daughter was missing. Where is Sulan? Why isn't she eating with us? Concubine Wen pretended not to know and looked at a nearby servant. The servant stammered. The third miss said she was tired and went to bed early. But the deliberate pause worked. Lord Zhao's attention was caught. But what? What's all the mystery? Spit it out. The servant then said clearly, It's just, the third miss has a very clear handprint on her face. Lord Zhao frowned. Concubine Wen acted as if she had just heard the news and jumped to her feet. My lord, let's go see. Sulan was waiting in her room. She had stationed a maid in the courtyard to watch for her father. The moment she saw them approaching, she started her performance. The second miss went too far this time. You can't keep letting her get away with this. We have to tell the master. Sulan, her voice thick with fake tears, scolded her maid, Shihong. My sister is the legitimate daughter. I was the one who was out of line. Let's just drop it. Just as she finished, she saw her father at the door. She feigned panic and turned away, covering the handprint on her cheek. Father, what are you doing here? But her movement was too slow. Lord Zhao had already seen the mark. He pulled her hand away and stared at her cheek. Did Yuan King do this? He asked in a low voice. Sulan shook her head. No, I just have sensitive skin. My sister only hit me once, not very hard. Besides, it was my fault. I said a few things I shouldn't have and made her angry. Lord Zhao's face was impassive, but his eyes burned with anger. He asked Sulan what she had said. Sulan replied, I saw my sister being escorted home by a strange man. I thought it was improper and would damage her reputation, so I just said a few words of caution. Go and bring the second miss here, Lord Zhao roared at a servant. Sulan and her mother exchanged triumphant glances. This time they would get their revenge for everything. When Yuan King arrived, she scanned the room, her eyes lingering on the mark on Sulan's face. She instantly understood Sulan's little scheme. She's not just cruel to her enemies, she thought. She's cruel to herself too. She smiled and curtsied to her father. Father, you summoned me? Lord Zhao looked at her. his feelings a mix of anger and confusion. "Did you hit your sister?" Concubine Wen quickly jumped in, maintaining her facade of kindness. "My lord, that's such a strong word. It was just a small disagreement between sisters." Yuan King admitted it freely. "Yes, I hit Zhao Sulan." Her lack of remorse angered her father. "And that's your attitude?" Yuan King glanced at Concubine Wen and didn't hesitate to use her background against her. The concubine is not from a noble family, so there are naturally shortcomings in how she raises her children. If it weren't for my slap today, my dear sister might have ended up dead, and she would have dragged the entire Zhao family down with her. Even if you hadn't summoned me, father, I was planning to speak to you about this. Hearing that the consequences could have been so severe, Lord Zhao calmed down. He looked at Sulan and asked what she had said. Yuan Qing didn't answer. Instead, she looked at Sulan. "Why don't you tell him yourself? That way, no one can accuse me of exaggerating." Sulan felt a sense of dread as Yuan King turned the tables on her, but the stinging pain on her cheek fueled her determination. How could meeting a man in secret be twisted into a good thing? She didn't believe it. She decided to stick to her story. "My sister is infatuated with a eunuch and was seen with another man. I felt her behavior was improper, but I suppose she has her own reasons. It was my mistake to say anything." Seeing Yuan King so calm, Lord Zhao decided not to get angry just yet. "Yuan Qing, is this true? What is your explanation?" Yuan King nodded. "It's true. But does father know who it was that brought me home?" Lord Zhao glared at her. "Stop playing games." Yuan King smiled, glanced at Sulan, and replied, "It was Zhuangli." The name dropped like a bomb. The other three gasped in shock. They all understood the significance of being personally escorted by Zhuangli. Sulan's sense of dread intensified. It seemed her plan had backfired yet again. The interrogation was over. Lord Zhao's anger vanished. He cleared his throat. If it was Lord Zhuang, then it would have been improper to refuse. Not only was Zhuangli powerful, but for Yuan King to declare her love for him and then reject him would have been a direct slap in his face. Yuan King wasn't going to let Sulan off that easily. "That's not all," she said deliberately. "My sister can look down on my affairs with Lord Zhuang in private, I don't care." But at the time, Lord Zhuang was not far away. If I had let my sister continue her accusations, he might have thought our entire family had a problem with him. "Father, I was saving her." Lord Zhao immediately believed her. He was about to scold Sulan, but seeing the mark on her face, he softened his tone. "Third daughter, you must be more careful with your words in the future." Sulan almost choked on her anger. She had gone to her father for support, and all she got was a lecture and a slap for nothing. Concubine Wen knew it was useless to say more and could only glare at Yuan King. Yuan King, seeing the mother-daughter pair seething but helpless, felt a wave of satisfaction and made her exit. Once she was out of Sulan's courtyard, San Nian said excitedly, "Miss, did you plan to use Lord Zhuang as an excuse all along?" Yuan King smiled. "Lord Zhuang's name is useful, but—" Before she could finish, a servant from her grandfather's courtyard interrupted her. "Second, miss, the Grand Tutor wishes to see you." Yuan King nodded, then finished her sentence to San Nian. "See, here it comes." She hadn't seen her doting grandfather since her rebirth. With an excited heart, she entered his study. The Grand Tutor got straight to the point. "I just got back and I've already heard the rumors about you. I know you don't want to enter the palace, and using Zhuangli as an excuse once is fine. A daughter of the Zhao family will have no trouble finding a husband. But if you get entangled with him, Yuan King, you know the stakes." Yuan King didn't answer directly. Instead, she brought up the 10th princess. "I ran into the 10th princess today. She was deliberately trying to cause trouble, and Zhuangli saved me. The one pulling her strings was most likely the emperor. In his eyes, there is no place for the Zhao family anymore. Her grandfather was the head of the family. Yuan King had to warn him, to give him time to prepare so they could escape their fate. In her past life, even with Sulan as an imperial consort, connecting them to the emperor, their family still fell. This time, by cutting off her path to the palace, she had likely made the emperor even more hostile toward them. The Grand Tutor sighed. "The emperor's throne is a lonely one. He can't allow anyone else to sleep peacefully beside it. Even if we worked with Zhuangli to replace the emperor, as long as our family holds power, we can't escape this." "But what if we create a three-way standoff?" Yuan King proposed. I interact with Zhuangli, making the emperor wary of us but afraid to act. As long as the men of the Zhao family don't take a side, the emperor will keep trying to win us over. And if Zhuangli tries to move against us, the emperor won't just stand by and watch. In that scenario, the Zhao family will be safest. After careful consideration, the Grand Tutor nodded. It's a viable strategy, but the court officials despise Zhuangli. Have you considered the pros and cons of associating with him so openly? Yuanqing laughed. It's just the private affair of a young woman. Surely it won't be connected to the entire family? The Grand Tutor saw that his granddaughter had a clear mind and had weighed the risks and benefits. In the end, it was the Zhao family that stood to gain. He smiled and patted her head. All right, you can go. Do as you see fit in this matter. Yuan King knew her grandfather would no longer stand in her way. That was enough. If she could take down the emperor without dragging the Zhao family into it, that would be for the best. Some things she had to do herself. The next day, as she was getting ready, Yuan King thought of Sulan again. She gave her personal maid quiet instructions. Find a few careful people and keep an eye on Sulan. Now that she's out of the ancestral hall, she's bound to get in touch with Shu Suqing. As soon as you see her make a move, send a message to the Fu family. Don't make it obvious. Let Fu Leli figure it out herself. The maid understood immediately. You're so clever, miss. Let them fight amongst themselves. Suddenly a man's voice came from outside. The maid was shocked. A strange man in the young Mrs. quarters? She opened the door. Miss Zhao, my master sent me to teach you martial arts. The maid stood protectively in the doorway. My mistress understands Lord Zhuang's kindness, but for you to come here so directly is not good for her reputation. Silence slapped his head as if he had just realized. Oh, I forgot. Miss Zhao is a noble lady with so many rules. My mistake. But I came over the wall. No one saw me. He didn't seem to think there was anything wrong with his behavior. He wasn't leaving, even if they didn't let him in. Yuan King sighed and had to speak for herself. I have no intention of learning from you. I appreciate Lord Zhuang's offer, but I must decline. Silence shook his head. I can't make that decision. I do as my master commands. If you want to change his mind, you'll have to tell him yourself. Yuan King suddenly asked, Are you doing this on purpose? Silence smiled. With this wooden head of mine? How could I possibly be doing this on purpose? Yuan King fell silent. She understood now. Zhuangli's offer had been casual. Silence showing up today was just Zhuangli's way of making her go see him. She nodded, saying she would go to the Eastern Depot the next day to speak with him personally, and sent Silence away. The next day, dressed as a man, Zhao Yunqing appeared at the Eastern Depot again. Before she could speak, the guards at the gate started shooing her away. This is the Eastern Depot, no unauthorized entry. Yunqing stood calmly to the side. I have an appointment with Lord Zhuang. Please inform him that someone with the surname Zhao is here. The guard's ears perked up. Someone from the Zhao family? Wait here, I'll go inform him right away. Yuanqing was quickly granted entry. She was led to the same study as before. Seeing her enter, Zhuangli teased, I was just wondering when I made the acquaintance of a young master named Zhao. Turns out it's a young lady. Yuanqing smiled. I just took some precautions to avoid causing you any more unnecessary trouble, my lord. May I ask what you summoned me for today? Zhuangli feigned confusion. But you came here on your own. Why does it sound like I summoned you? Yuan King was cursing him out in her head, but her face remained pleasant. Yes, you're right. I came here on my own to thank you for your kind offer of instruction, and also to ask you to take it back. Zhuangli's voice rose slightly. Oh? Yuan King thought that Zhuangli was truly infuriating. No wonder so many people couldn't stand him. She forced herself to be patient and polite. Silence is your personal guard. It would be a waste of his talents to teach me. I appreciate your kindness, my lord, but I will ask my maternal grandfather's family to teach me martial arts. Zhuangli nodded. Oh, right, your grandfather is a general. Then he fell silent, not saying whether he agreed or not, just watching her thoughtfully. Yuanqing looked at him. He clearly wanted something from her but didn't want to be the one to ask. She sighed and asked patiently, Has anything been troubling you at work lately, my lord? Perhaps I can offer some comfort. Zhuangli smiled, stood up, and walked over to her. Nothing much. I was just bored and heard that there's a soccer match organized by some of the noblemen in a few days. I was thinking of going to watch, but it seems a bit dull to go alone, Yunking thought. After all that beating around the bush, the big boss is finally getting to the point. She quickly picked up her cue. I'm free. I wonder if I might have the honor of accompanying you, my lord?